Okay, so this is how to use the Equatio editor on assignments. So let's say you have a question that you're trying to answer. The Equatio editor can be found by going to the More External Tools drop-down menu. And you'll see Insert Equatio Equation. Now the neat thing about Equatio, it seems to be a little bit quicker than the old equation editors, but it's a lot more powerful in many different ways. I'm going to try to illustrate each of these tools that you have access to. So first of all, the default option will be the standard equation editor. Down below you have a LaTeX editor, which you won't be using at all. It's for advanced equations. There is a graph editor. We don't use that really much at all in our classes, certainly not for the assignments, but it can pull in graphs directly from Desmos, which is pretty neat. The other two options are handwriting recognition, which I'll show you, and speech input as well. So starting with the equation editor, a lot of the same features that you would have had in your other editors are available here. So for instance, if I'm trying to, let's say, factor a quadratic expression, something like x squared, then I can just type x, and I can press Shift 6 if you're on Windows to get to the exponent. You can do x squared, type the right-hand key, minus x plus 2. Okay, I can say that that's equal to 4. Right, so that's one option. The other thing you could do is you could actually type SQU, and there is a prediction ability here. So when you type something like XQU, you'll notice it also does prompt the option for you to insert a squared, or even other things like square root as well. So we could do x squared, and then we can continue that way as well. So let's say we have this expression right here. Okay, so the neat thing is you can still do multiple lines. Now you can't just hit enter. You need to press Shift Enter, and that'll get you down to the line below. It right aligns. So just to be clear, you know, it's a little bit different maybe than what we're used to in the other editors, but it will still work. So let's just say that we wanted to factor an expression like this. You could press Shift Enter, and then you could open this up and say, okay, well, this is x plus 1 and then x minus 2. Okay, and if, at this point, oops, forgot that closing bracket, there it is. Okay, now at this point, if you wanted to enter your work, you could click on the check mark, and you could enter it in to your assignment. The neat thing as well is, just like before, if you wanted to edit this, just select it and go back into the Equatio editor, and you could actually edit that equation just like before. So it should save your work and have you access that. A couple of other features, if you want to change the text size, let's say you've got a final answer and you want to emphasize that, you can highlight it, and then you'll notice that this fill option becomes available. You can highlight that to illustrate your final answer. Okay? You can also delete everything by clicking on the trash can. You know, a couple of other features that are neat, if you go down to the options menu and go into math options, you'll notice that you do have the ability to also pull up formulas. For those in chemistry, you can pull up some chemistry features as well. But for us, the formulas are going to be important because if you're working on something like, for instance, the quadratic formula, then all you need to do is type quadratic and spell it properly, of course. And you'll notice that it will pull up the quadratic formula for you. Okay, so there are also other formulas available. You can play around with this to see what they have. But for instance, here you've got some formulas for sine, double angle formulas, and so on. All right, so those are neat features that you'll have available as well. Okay, so that's the equation editor and how to enter multiple lines, how to edit the text, as well as how to change the text color. Now, the other features that are available, I said there is this handwriting recognition option. So I'm just going to get rid of what we already have here. Now, if you have a pen tablet, okay, with stylus, you can actually use this to do the same thing that we did before. So let's say I wanted to try to factor this expression x squared minus x plus 2. Okay. Well, then I can actually write that in and notice that it recognizes my equation. Below that, if I wanted to write out my solution, I think it's x minus 2 times x plus 1. Then it writes that down as well. If you ever make a mistake, so for instance, you scribbled something or it doesn't make sense, this has a hard time figuring out what you're doing, then you can always go and edit that on the right hand side. Okay, so you're not stuck with whatever you've typed. There we go. So that's a neat feature as well, the handwriting feature. Once again, you'd press Shift-Enter if you want to navigate down to the line below, and then you could enter that as well by clicking on the check mark. Now, last but not least, I just wanted to illustrate to you that there is a speech input feature, and for more complex equations and math, you're probably not going to be able to use this with as much accuracy, but for some things you can definitely use this tool. So for some students, this may be something that you'd like to take advantage of. But for instance, if I wanted to enter the same sort of work, now the thing here is if you want to have a bracket, you have to explicitly say open bracket or close bracket. And if you want a new line, you actually have to say next step. So let's say I'd like to enter my answer. X squared minus x plus 2. Next step. Open bracket. X minus 2. Close bracket. X plus 2. Okay, now actually I had forgotten to enter a second open bracket there for my x plus 2 and then to close that. So as you can see, toward the end, it did give us a bit of a warning, and this little face down here says, if you're getting to be a little bit too advanced for the particular feature, you might want to use either the LaTeX editor or in this case the equation editor. So anyway, it is available to you, but certainly there are many things which you just want to stick to, and I recommend that you stick to the equation editor whenever possible.